Today, we have Laura for certain here talking about how she uses APHIS and outcomes in engineering, but we can talk about a lot of things as well. So are there other things that you're interested in learning about and seeing about relation to outcomes? And who'd like to start? We'll go around the room with who you are, where you're from, and some reason that you're here or interested in this topic.
I'm Piper Jones, and I'm with the Department of English program at ESL. And if you've ever driven through the Upper Peninsula on your way to Michigan, you'll see a sign that says mystery spot. Haven't seen this? This is the mystery spot. I click on it. It's not very intuitive. I don't really know how to utilize my maximize this. So how to connect the dots.
Do you have to gather outcomes? I think everybody on campus is eventually going to be gathering direct assessment data.
Use the grid sheet.
Yeah. Right.
Jake, in UPS, but I teach in the math department. And trying to think through on the algebra level, and transform more to a mastery style. So I'm interested to look at the different ways to calculate mastery, decaying average.
All right. Thank you.
I'm Sonia Solomon, I'm part of the AT here, and I'm also part of the Student Learning Assessment Team, which is out of the assessment office in Provost with Mulder Shop leading that, and I am the APHIS admin. So I'm here just because Bo wanted to be here and she's out of town, or she's actually not out of town, she's a UC took this morning, so she just wanted someone from the SLA team.
My name is Colleen Valdez. I'm an instructional designer for the Division of Continuing Studies, and I have experience training users on outcomes in Canvas. So I do know a little bit about that, but I don't know an awful lot about APHIS. I'm excited to learn about that as well.
I'm Cindy Kurash. I'm in the kinesiology department. I coordinate physical education, teacher education. And I'm really interested in using outcomes to do some curriculum mapping to see which of our courses meet which standards or which outcomes, so we can see if we actually cover them. And then to see how students do as they move through the program.
I'm Jeff. I'm from the Department of French and Italian. I'm just kind of a sponge today.
All right. Laura?
I'm Laura. I'm from LSS across the street in Van Nuys. For me, I think I agree with the mystery spot to some extent. Instructors often ask me in my role for more information about this, and I struggle with understanding the balance between effort and reward. So having a better understanding of how this is really useful to you and also potentially the students as well would be helpful for me.
Okay, this is actually, let me echo on that because it's a very complicated thing that requires a lot, from my understanding, a lot of thought. It's not a thing you can be like, oh, let's throw in a quiz. Oh, let's throw in an outcome. Because it's deeply rooted into everything. And we'll talk about that.
And I think it also seems to require a lot of effort well in advance. So it's not something you can just play with when you're already in the semester. It has to be, I think, a very thought out process.
Yeah, very good. Sarah?
I'm Sarah Hagan in the College of Engineering, and I am just really interested in all things assessment. I helped Laura with
She's too modest.
tech support.
She's actually really important for the whole, okay, how do we make this happen? She knows the magic, I think, right? And you just want to
I've
get
spoken to the developers on the phone
Yeah.
about where things break and
Yeah.
send them screenshots of things when they break, and that's stuff we fix.
Bobby, I'm an instructional designer with the studies, and I'm hoping to learn how I can best support my instructors and diving into the outcomes.
I'm Jim Riley. I'm learning technology consultant for the Winnicott team and AT. I can echo much of what is being said here. I generally consult on the instructor and course level. And this is one of those topics where the connection to APHIS and the program outcomes, I'm not quite sure of like how to consult with the instructor on best practices or whatnot. So I wanted to come here and kind of get a sense of what we've done and what you recommend.
Hi, I'm Sarah Archibald. I teach a course in the Educational Leadership Department, and I was hoping, which I don't know if this is going to happen based on the conversation, but I have assignments in Canvas and I have rubrics, and the rubrics are separate, and so they don't talk to each other, and so I have to kind of like, if I'm going to comment, for example, on a student paper on Canvas, I can like say what I took off for, but I can't like do it online. And that's what I'm wanting to do, is be able to connect my rubric electronically.
So is your rubric in speed paper already?
No,
Okay,
it's like on Google Drive.
okay.
No, like.
No, we're gonna talk about this.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can do that. That's
I
actually fun.
figured,
You
but
gotta be
I
able to
don't
do that.
know how to.
And that is the thing that we would talk more about at the rubrics session that
That's what I kind of thought of where I
we have
was,
already
but
had.
it might not be the day that I think it is, so that's cool.
But you can also put an outcome on a rubric.
Right,
Video and fancy.
and that is the part that,
That's what we're-
like, it's kind of a fun, and again, this is why it takes such advanced planning. It's great, we can develop an assignment, and if we're really good, we can connect a rubric to it, and then we're like, yeah, we've done it all, right? But no, we haven't, because now we can say, how do these things connect to the outcome for the class? And we get that good, and we're like, woohoo, done, right? No, because now we've got program level outcomes that we need to connect to. Good? I don't know, school level, I mean, there's all kinds of, we can just keep on going, it's, it turtles all the way down. But really, it should go the other way around, right? Because it's backwards design. So we start with program level outcomes, and then we say, what are these? Now, what are the classes that can address these outcomes? And then what are the assignments within the classes? And then, so it's tricky. And when we, oftentimes, we default to developing classes. The faculty member comes in, I'm gonna teach a class, here's the content. All right, let's start unpacking. This week, we're gonna do this, and next week, we're gonna do this. And once we've taught the class for 30 years, we can be like, okay, you know, there are some things, the outcomes that this course can have, and it's often done haphazardly and backwards. And I think Laura will talk about this, and Sandy will talk about this maybe if we ask her, about how the campus is shifting to be a little bit more intentional about, are we reaching those bigger goals? And let me turn it over to you then.
So-
Have you-
I feel like before I even show you any slides, what we should talk about a little bit is some of that backstory, because I just don't know what shared assumptions we have yet. So I'm from the College of Engineering. I teach in a program that's the technical communication program. We teach required courses for all of the engineering students. So we have these small 22-person sections and multiple instructors for this one class. And it used to be that we had a dean who said, EP 397, that's our class, is the bell cow of the college. I remember being kind of offended by that at first, and then I started to really like it, because what she meant by that was, you know, the way things turn out for the way the outcomes turn out for that class can really sort of shine a light on all kinds of things that are going well or not going so well in teaching in this college. So years ago, and I'm not with Sarah Fonaker, she said this years ago when she was still in the College of Engineering. And at the time, Sarah and I were working on figuring out what outcomes do we assess in EP 397, this required class, and everyone has to take the writing class and the presenting class. What outcomes do we assess that really are critical for our class that we can assess for everybody and report that assessment data to our accrediting agency, which is ABET. Now, you don't care about any of that, but probably very soon, if you don't already care, you'll have to care about the Higher Learning Commission. And I think that accreditation agency is moving in the direction of more direct assessment, more outcomes-based assessment across the whole campus. And I'm trying to channel Mo Bishop here because I know if she were here, she would say, yes, we need to be doing some assessment of outcomes and getting that from these courses. And what's tricky for us, for many, many years, David has said, you can't do grade book stuff. You can't pull grades out. That's not good enough. It's got to be at a more granular level. So it is coming from rubrics, and it's items that you've identified in your rubrics that align with those student outcomes that you've identified in your class. So this does take us down to saying all of these conversations where you have to sit down with, at least for us, it meant sitting down with everyone who teaches in that program. Of course, we have to be consistent. We have one class in multiple sections, students immediately start to talk about who's easier, who's harder. You got to be really in line. So we, for years, had a lot of meetings about what are we doing, how are we doing it, what are our rubrics like, let's make sure that they align very well. So we had meetings like that. But even within the college, we want to be talking to senior design and other places where there's writing going on, and ensuring that they're looking for some of the same things that we're looking for, and using some of the same language that we're using, so that students will start to make that skills gap. Because as you know, the way students will operate is they'll take a course and go, phew, survive that. Now this is something completely different, and they seem to want completely different things. So if you have rubrics that have language that align, and even faculty there who will say, remember this from your 7th class, then there's going to be better learning.
And that is research, there's research behind that.
Yeah.
That's that distributed learning. If you revisit what you learned before and you continue to build off of that, that every time you see that, it's like page views in a marketing campaign or something. Whenever you see something, that those connections get stronger.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so if we can have that same language,
Yeah.
that refers back, that's a powerful thing. Does this align with, or is it in parallel with, is it similar to the K-12 standards?
I guess so.
Does it?
Yes, but no one admits that.
What's that?
No one admits that.
Okay, we won't talk about that.
All I worry about these days, we just got through our accreditation process. It comes through every 6 years, right? And so I think about things like, how can I show them outcomes data where we can align at least a few courses near graduation and show, okay, for this outcome, there is similar language in some of these different rubrics from these different courses within the program. Civil engineering works with us very well, and so does mechanical. And we sit down with the senior design faculty and have these long discussions about what are you putting in your rubric? It used to be 20 years ago, I remember sitting down with senior design faculty and they had an item in their rubric that just said go writing. And I was horrified. I was like, no, you can't just rubric. We have so many items in our rubric. Let's talk about things like organization. You know, can we put that word? So we are starting to see a lot more granularity in the rubric. But I want to talk about, okay, so if you have a rubric, you build it into SpeedGrader. Okay, this is what we're trying to get our people to do in our program, is to start to use SpeedGrader. Because the rubric is right there. You can type comments in for every item in that rubric. You can give those numbers, and you can even, Sarah discovered through, I think, multiple conversations probably with Avis, that there are ways to sort of adjust each item in the rubric. So if some of the items are going to be more points, some are less points, you can do that. So it's a fairly flexible tool. Is that fair to say? And so you have, I mean, there's certainly challenges. Within my program, I have people who will say things like, I don't even want to use a rubric. I want to give a grade at the end and final comment. Well, fine, but not so fine if their handwriting is terrible and they've been told multiple times, I can't read your handwriting. So I think they need to go online, learn how to start, okay, how do I adjust things and put it in this rubric, type in my comments, put in a number there and work with the rubric. And if they can get to doing that, then what we have with the APHIS tool is an integration it doesn't work perfectly yet, but they are really trying to get this to work where the integration, and this is Sarah built this behind the scenes, it was integration that would recognize, if we told the behind the scenes rubric, all right, this item in the rubric aligns with outcome G, which is communication, effectively communicate, all right? That's a big bucket. So you can align multiple items in your rubric with that one outcome. And what APHIS, the magic that happens is that APHIS can pull those items out of the rubric and show you for each student, how's that student doing on that, okay? And then you can look at your whole class and see, how's everyone doing on that particular item within the rubric? Now, the reason why that granularity is useful to you as an instructor is, of course, we all look at our grades and go, oh God, they all bombed the proposal, you know? I've got to work on how to improve their proposal writing skills, but that's a big bucket too. So if you can look at this more granular data in APHIS, you can see, oh, it actually comes through, they're not very good at empathizing with stakeholders. And that's a key element in the proposal. So what can I do to improve that part? So it can help you as an instructor figure out exactly what the weaknesses were. And you probably have some gut feeling of that because you did all the grading, like where were all the problems at? But now you have data to support it. You could show people like, oh, you could certainly show ABIT. Here's what we're working on. Okay? We saw the data and made a data-driven decision to start having meetings around empathy. And so you can use it to improve your own teaching. You can use it for discussions, to focus meetings with your teaching staff, and you can use it for assessment purposes. So that's where we're at. We're not actually to the point yet where all of this is working. So I think the whole campus, there are these different people across campus who are using this tool now and really sort of beta testing it. Is that fair to say? But we're going to be there before the next ABET round for sure. In fact, next spring, I'm so excited. I want to get more of our people on board. You're saying pharmacy is using this a lot? Is that the school that's using this across all of their instructors?
Great, so APHIS has been constantly improving their product, and we're going to hopefully roll out a few more courses in the spring. But right now, the whole School of Pharmacy has started using it, and what they have done is, so all PLOs, which are program learning outcomes, all of those are already in APHIS because all of those are in Lumen for every program. So those were already there. So they've actually mapped every course in their whole school to each outcome. And then what they're doing is now they're working on mapping in each course, they're mapping their Canvas assignments to whichever outcome they achieve and then how it works. Yeah, so it's basic.
And so I understand pharmacy's got their own accreditation agency they have to work to. With ABET, luckily, I always think ABET is like the worst, but apparently not. So for our ABET reporting, we do map every course to the outcomes, but we don't have to report all of that outcomes data. So they're most curious about the data closest to graduation. Are students really meeting and exceeding expectations in those final courses that they're taking? So luckily, there's not that much data that we have to pull, but we need to really learn a way to do it. And part of what I wanted to come and talk to you about today is just how crazy making it can be if you don't have a system. I have, and I'm trying to convince myself to throw them away, but I have all of these rubrics that people sort of handwritten on rubrics that people turned into my office in these huge stacks. And I had to go through all of those rubrics and count up. And I got hourlies to do some of this stuff because you want to scratch your eyes out. It's rubrics where you're looking at, okay, every item in this rubric, I'm looking for this third item, and I'm going to try to compile all of that to assess outcome G. It's really insane to do that because the other wrinkle for us is all kinds of different majors take our class, and if we want to assess mechanical engineers only, we have to have a way to pull all of that out for just those mechanical engineers. So we realized a long time ago now, it was probably 2010, we realized there's a system out there. There's got to be a system for doing this online. We've been working toward this for some time. It's trickier than I thought it would be, but we're going to have a system where we can have all of our instructors grading online, and then with a few buttons, I think we'll be able to see mechanical engineering students, how did they do on this one particular particular performance indicator that aligns with this outcome. And so a performance indicator is one of those little elements in the rubric, right? And so we'll have a granular level. We tested it in my class, one section of EP for 37 in the spring, and it did work then. I went into it the other day and I couldn't get it to work again, so I don't know what was wrong there. But it's still kind of not just a fluky software right now. They're really trying to, they're working on it.
They're changing all of them.
Yeah.
That's improved a lot already.
Yeah. So it could be that my version of my Canvas course in the spring is just outdated. And I think, and Sami or Sarah, you guys correct me on this if I'm wrong. My understanding is we'll be able to build our rubric into the speed grader, and then we can use that from semester to semester to semester. So we don't have to keep building it in.
Right, because once you link your assignments to, you have to do that in APHIS. It carries over every semester if you're teaching the same course, so you don't have to. So there's a lot of upfront work you have to get all the mappings in there. But once that's done, the only thing you have to change is if you change a learning outcome or maybe add a new assignment or a new assignment. So that's just small tweaks there.
And can you tweak it so that you add one simple thing and you don't have to change put the whole thing in?
Right, you just do the one. Yeah, it copies everything over. So then you just have to make that one.
That's great. Because that's the other thing about this is that I think outcomes assessment can be one of those things people feel like, okay, this is what we have to do, and now we're stuck with this. And you folks who teach know that no, you try things and you realize, oh, I gotta have this other element in there, and this thing really doesn't need to be in there. And so you want something that's flexible and change.
So I guess speaking personally, one of the things that I love about teaching is the ability to be responsive to the students in the semester, to the current events, bringing things that are authentic and real and current into my class. And one of my fears with outcomes and this level of granularity is that my course becomes a program and I'm just sort of pressing the buttons and doing that. Does every class have to have programmatic connected outcomes, or every other class? Like, how deep into this will the tendrils reach?
Yeah, exactly, because even within the 7 people in my program, right, we hire people in thinking, okay, this person brings this extra skill that's really interesting that the rest of us don't have. We want them to have an ability within their own section of our class where they're doing something a little different, But we want to agree also on the big things, like, okay, engineers need to be able to write effective proposals. What is that? What makes an effective proposal? So I think what this should allow us to be able to do is we could have different rubrics even for the proposal assignment as long as some of the elements align. Okay? What I want to, and if I can't do it yet, I'm going to push them to do this, because right now what we do in our class is, I say to them, all right, let's fight it out, and believe me, it takes a long time, but you argue about these things, but which are the elements that we all agree must be in the rubric proposal? And we get those, and then you can have other things that you're looking for. Sometimes, I don't know why it is, but I have people who are like, I'm not gonna assess ethics. Well, I need to, I absolutely believe in that. So we can fight that out, or we can just decide we're gonna set that aside and look at ethics elsewhere. So we agree on certain key things, but that's just for that one assignment. So you could potentially have 1 or 2 assignments in that class where there are some aligned performance indicators and outcomes, and then there's a lot of other variation within the class. So I want that always to be a possibility, so people feel like they can bring something that they own, like this is what I do, and this is my flavor of it. So I want that to happen. The other thing is that within the program itself, like I said, ABET doesn't require that we track every class. So there could be all kinds of variation that are happening in the different classes. We want to look at those courses where we have to pull the data. And even within those courses, it might not be every assignment, okay, that we pull the data. So I think there's flexibility there. I don't see it ever becoming a thing where, oh man, it's become so rigid. I don't think it should be that way. think the way people, it really matters how people talk about it to the folks. Like, look, this will enable you to have the flexibility you desire, but it will also enable us to do this quickly. Because if we don't find an easy way to assess these classes, this is an enormous amount of painstaking data collection, and we don't have an easy way to do this with software. I mean,
So it helps us structure and focus.
yes,
Right, and that is a concern because that's a feedback we get all the time. They're like, well, we don't want to be, in fact, the other day someone said, we don't want to be like University of Phoenix. Well, that's not what we want at all.
yeah.
So, but I think, is everybody here familiar with Lumen? It's the course catalog. So they are now collecting course learning outcomes. So that is where all this is going to be living in Lumen. So already the program learning outcomes are there. The big push now is to get course learning outcomes. So if students are going to register for a class, they can see the outcomes right in the guide. So it's in the works then that all of those will flow down into APUS because you want similar course learning outcomes. But you always have the section learning outcomes that then are additional to that. So that's kind of where you're talking about where you have your own flavor of teaching or you add in your own points and stuff. But you still want, if someone's going to sign up for, say, Chem 103, they shouldn't matter what section they go in because they're going to learn these outcomes. But you're also going to probably learn right the other.
And so, something you said just reminded me about the section level. I took a picture of this at some point, but it's too fuzzy to show you because it basically was a picture of my table in my office with all of the different rubrics there from all of the different sections. And the part that was crazy, I had to take my poor hourly and say to her, look, I know this is kind of crazy. Yes, everyone has a rubric that looks different, but there are elements in everybody's rubric that are the same. So what we're going to do is try to pull out those elements. And so I had to sort of set up a coding system for her so she could realize, okay, in this particular rubric, it's the 5th element down. This is outcome G here. I've got to gather that data. This other person's rubric looks different, but here it is. It's the 15th item. So that stuff is just so completely insane. We do have different rubrics, but within this software, it can pull those out. All you have to do is sort of align it, and it will pull that stuff out. Yeah, it's really so much. I think it's going to be so much easier. And it's getting there. So what questions do you guys have? You want to see some, I mean, I put some slides together. Should we
Please,
do some
yeah.
more stuff?
So, do you think, speaking not for yourself, but for other people that you might know who are instructors, how much thought is put into when you're teaching a class or when they're teaching a class, what the outcome, what the program level or the course level outcomes versus their section level outcomes? I can say that in general, in the past, some might have said that, hey, it's my class, I'm going to be teaching it. These are my outcomes for this course. So ignoring what the course catalog says, as long as it's somewhere around that idea of Chemistry 103 or Anthropology or whatever the title is, and oftentimes I know that the courses are written in the past to be as generic as possible to allow that level of flexibility, right? And many courses didn't have outcomes, right? They had to people are scrambling, programs are scrambling to create course level outcomes to get them in for this what are other people's thoughts or experiences or feelings on that? Am I the only one about that?
So is everyone in the room who teaches aware of what your outcomes are? Roger, in your class, yeah? Yeah. So I can tell a little powerful story, and I'll just keep all the identifiers.
There you go. That's what I'm
I'll
looking
take
for.
where this happened. It was a meeting. Yeah, a meeting happened in, okay, I'll tell
A
you.
galaxy far, far away.
It wasn't the College of Engineering, but it was a long time ago. Actually, it wasn't. But anyway, I had somebody in there who was looking at the ABET student outcomes. And he said, look at these crazy outcomes. Look at what they're asking us to do. He says, lifelong learning, God help you if you can teach that. And he just sort of went on a big rant about ABET, which you can easily do, and I have done, so I know the main problems. But he said that, and I was sitting there with my computer open and opened up his class, which I happened to be able to because I had access to the syllabi. One of his outcomes is lifelong learning. I'm like, okay, so first of all, you can teach lifelong learning skills. If you're teaching research at all, that's, but, so it was shocking to me to realize, oh no, people don't even know what their outcomes are. This is something that I felt like within our program, of course, everybody knows these things, but then I learned pretty quickly, no, a lot of times people don't know what their outcomes might be. And the thing is, you can actually drive that process. You can be the one who determines what the outcomes are. I mean,
Or-
should be.
Or we are already doing it, we just aren't thinking them as outcomes, we're just
Right.
thinking them as, well, yeah, I want you to learn
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
But we don't connect them to larger other places.
Right. So I'm not sure how many people in the College of Engineering would tell you, of course, we are thinking about our program learning outcomes. Most people are really focused on their courses. And when you say to them, let's have some productive conversations about all of the things that matter for this program. I think people are having those conversations, but they don't use the outcomes. That's the disconnect.
It's
I
a
think-
formalizing of
Yeah, it's
something that's already happening.
Or maybe what's happening too is there's a resistance to assessment. There's such a deep resistance to it. I mean, I'm serious, people will jump behind pillars to hide them because they know the assessment person, right? There's such a deep distrust of assessment because they want to do with that data. And it's sad because to me, assessment really just gives you a reason to sit down and talk about your teaching in productive ways. You're doing that anyway. Why not do these things? I can show you a few things that I created for the day. So this is an example. I just cut out a little chunk from the civil engineering mapping. So all these letters at the top are their outcomes. These are ABET outcomes, so they're associated with different ABET outcomes. Our class is this 397 class. It assesses 6 of these ABET outcomes. One of them is effectively communicate. It does assess teamwork and ethics and a number of other interesting things, lifelong learning. But within civil engineering, they're also assessing outcomes in these 2 courses. These are near graduation. So this is where we gathered some of their data. And there are a couple of other courses that cover these outcomes. So we had to submit a big curriculum map just showing every course in civil engineering that's required and which outcomes that they're mapping. So you can build this. This could be something you could build into the APIS tool. Pull out those outcomes. And so, here's my picture. It's kind of fuzzy. But these are all the different rubrics that we had, and it was crazy because you had all this handwriting. So we piloted this in our class, 6 ABET outcomes. It's a significant amount of work, as I was saying earlier, if you do it by hand. But if you build it into rubrics built into SpeedGrader, and then grade goes up a load of assignments, you're doing all of that grading anyway, and APIS can pull all that data out. And then assessment becomes really easy. And it becomes something that allows you to have conversations. So here's just a sample chunk from a rubric. And I know there was a time when I just sent all of this to Sarah. We wanted an easy way to compile all this stuff. So if you look at this rubric item here, this is ABET outcome F, which is has to do with ethics. And so we could set up all of the rubrics in APIS so that you would have differences down here. G, this is effectively communicating. The top number of points you could get for this is 5. The top number of points you could get for this was 20. So you can have a rubric that has those variations in the point numbers. That's my point here. This was the paper rubric that I gave to Sarah. She built some of this stuff in so that we could pull out the data. And in the end, I took out the student names so you wouldn't see student names, but you would see these sort of green circles showing they met expectations, yellow for sort of, I think green was exceeding expectations, maybe yellow was not meeting, meeting, and then red was not meeting expectations. So this was just a little chunk that shows you it can plot out for you all of the students, and you can just glance at it quickly and see where are the red circles, where's the trouble here. But you can also have a lot of detail that you've typed in. And that's what I've got over here is showing some of the detail that I've given to people. So you can, it's funny, I've actually been writing more feedback in SpeedGrader because it's so easy to type fast and you're not worried about running off the page or something like that. So, and this is just an example showing, and this is something that I know Sarah worked on pretty hard to make sure it worked, that we could have a variation here so that some of the items might be, the top score for that item is 2.5, some could be 5, so there's variation within the rubric. So you can determine how you want to do this. Now, if you're going to try to align that across multiple instructors, that's a conversation you have with folks. But it's a useful conversation. How much do we all value this? What's it going to do with the top score? This is how it looks when it's built into SpeedGrader, just like that. This is just a little chunk from one of the rubrics that's in there. And by the way, rubric has a longer description. So we came up with these, and Sarah was sort of just pulling out the language that was, okay, that describes this problem. How would they contextualize it? There's a longer description in the rubric. And then it by the way, there's total. So it promises to transform, I think, our assessment process. So students will be able to see how they're performing in key course outcomes. Teachers will be able to see those random levels. I was talking about that earlier. And you can make adjustments to challenging areas. We can output all that data for each performance indicator for any given outcome, pulling from all the rubrics graded for the same assignment in class. So that's really the wonderful part of it. It aggregates all of that stuff for that outcome. And we can pull specific data from key isolated questions on a quiz or uploaded homework problems. So if you're a math guy, I was thinking about your situation. A lot of it's not rubrics for written documents. That's what I'm talking about, rubrics for written documents. Rubrics for a presentation, I will bring online sometimes too. But if you're doing a quiz, you can identify certain key questions that all right, within this quiz, if they can do this problem, they've got this outcome, all right? That should be associated with that. So eventually, and I don't know if anybody's really tested this yet at pharmacy, maybe they have, eventually it should be able to pull out those items for quizzes. And when that can happen, that's going to be really great for the College of Engineering because there are people right now who are gathering items from right this fall, trying to say, okay, when I get my midterm, I'm going to have to go in and pull out all of the grades for that one question. So I'm going to have to make copies of that quiz or that midterm, right? And they're worried about that because they're doing it longhand skill. But when the rubrics in APHIS are aligned with those quizzes, it's going to be really simple. That's what I'm hoping. We can compile that data to show how many students are doing really well, mid or poorly. We have to have that for AVA at least. We have to be able to show them on this outcome how many students are meeting and exceeding expectations. We have certain reporting requirements, but it's easy to set that up. Eventually, it will be easy to set that up. And then this is the key thing for us is to be able to pull it out for all the different programs. So when that can happen, I could envision, maybe big efforts like ComB courses all across campus. Maybe it scares people. Ours is a ComB class, and it would be helpful then to be able to say, all right, what if our students are taking another ComB class? What kinds of data can we do?
What's a ComB class?
It's a general education.
Well, that's what I thought, okay.
Yeah. So people take ComAs, ComBs on campus, and it's a requirement for everyone, unless they test out a ComB.
That's why the areas are open.
Yeah.
Do you think I understand how to create a rubric, but do you think you could walk us through how you get from the creation of the rubric to linking that inside of the outcome? Because I'm sort of looking at the outcome button on the Active Teaching Network today, and visually, not really sure how that works.
Yeah, Sarah, she's sitting there going, Laura has no idea.
The thing is you're not using the Canvas outcomes tool, so all of this stuff, the direct assessment pilot has been using APHIS instead of Canvas outcomes. So if you want to use Canvas outcomes until they get the APHIS system up and running. The way that you do that, you can upload them via a CSV. You could add them at the account level so that they're accessible to more than just your course, if you have multiple courses that want to use them. But if you want to just add them to your course through the regular outcome delivery, you can put those in there. Then to link them to the particular assignment, you add the outcomes as items to the rubric. Those
Do you think you
items.
could show, because I think she had a question too, how to create the rubric and speak later.
I'll tell you what ultimately one of my classes.
So if we could start with creating the rubric and then adding that outcome in a rubric, I think that would help me visualize.
Your fall 2017 course actually.
Although you would start with the outcome and then add the rubric to it, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I wonder if I need,
Add the outcome to the
current
rubric.
course those.
Yeah, so again, starting with the biggest,
Oh,
That
right.
could be current.
and then you add, you sort of make those connections. Now, Sarah, you said you can also create this in an Excel file, export it as CSV. So one way to think about this, especially as far as planning goes, the Canvas tool is actually a little bit clumsy in building and editing and tweaking these things. So if you can do any of the tweaking and building and initial designing in a spreadsheet or on a whiteboard and then transfer it to a spreadsheet or whatever, that is probably going to be easier, more natural for the majority of people than trying to build it directly in Canvas. Because the tools, as simple as Canvas can look, sometimes the simplicity has a cost, and that is that it's not as intuitive or useful to drive, easy to drive.
And part of the concern, I know Mo would bring that up if she was here too, was that learning outcomes really are going to be living in Lumen, and then we're going to want them to flow down into APHIS and possibly maybe into Canvas. We're not sure how that's going to work yet, because you want them to be, you can add your own section ones, but you want that consistency. So we're trying to eliminate where people are adding outcomes everywhere, because they should all be eventually in Lumen, which are going to pull through and get to all these systems. So she's kind of a little concerned that she doesn't know if we should be pushing outcomes from Canvas, because really they're going to live other places, and then we use those tools to do your assessment or do these direct assessments.
For the concept of outcomes,
Right.
like I think the more that you can think about what are the outcomes of this assignment, how do they align with the outcomes of your section, how might those align with the outcomes of your course. If you can do some of that work, that'll make it easier later on when they do come from the top, from the campus program level down. I think so. Like much of the stuff in Canvas, it's a great platform for exploring stuff, but don't get too married to not changing it. And that's sort of a big theme since we moved from D2L, where we had these courses that were everything was built in them, deeply integrated into it, and now Canvas comes in, some of the things break, and we have to rebuild them. And in some ways, we're pushing the idea of building modular, portable things that if you know how to do it in Canvas, that's great. You'll be able to figure out how to do it in APHIS or how to be able to connect those. And just conceptually, knowing how to do these things will give you a head start.
So those are some examples of the outcomes that we put into the course.
I'll go back. Yeah, but right now, I don't think these things are even, this is my class from last fall, I guess, or maybe last spring. So yeah, there are outcomes in here. And this is not actually showing me what I was talking about, which is a system that through APHIS will pull out all of the data from these rubrics. It's kind of separate from the Canvas outcomes.
Yeah, well, there is some question as to whether those two will ever meet, because we do have that APHIS button there. And to Sandy's point, there's currently a disconnect, and there's also like intentionally a disconnect, because it's not up to the instructors to build the course level and program level things on their own. It's a part of their discussion that they have as part of the curriculum committee, as part of the program. But they contribute to these things, but should not go in as an instructor and say, here are the course level outcomes that I've just made up right now. You can have that for your section level, ideally aligned with the course level and program level.
Right.
And that's where people get hesitant about encouraging that.
If you do use the outcomes in your rubrics and you grade them, they can be either part of the grade for that assignment, or you can turn off the grading for the outcome. And then the outcome data is visible to you in the Learning Mastery Gradebook, and it can be visible to students if you turn on the Student Learning Mastery Gradebook. But it's not automatically going to be displayed to students, except in those rubrics, they would see whatever scores they have. Assignments for them to see it all rolled up into one place. You have to go under feature options under your settings and turn on.
This is reminding me of what we had. So there was a time, so right at the bottom of this rubric, you can see a lot of detailed things I'm looking for, and then at the bottom are all these course learning outcomes. And this actually kind of drove me crazy because I would already be putting a lot of comments up here in the rubric, and then I get down to these more general things like effectively communicate and have to try to score that. And I just kind of got fed up with it because I felt like it was a distraction for my students to have to look at that stuff. I would rather, maybe this is just me maybe, but I'd rather have them see the rubric I gave them and not worry about, okay, wait, there's a different score now for this general course outcome like effectively communicate. And you can approach this differently. Maybe you can tell them within the rubric, seven elements in this rubric show me whether you effectively communicate. But the way this was set up, at least thus far, is kind of clunky because the course outcomes were showing up on the rubric, and I was getting to them going, oh God, okay, so what do I do here? This is really general, whereas I had really specific language up here, and I was just trying to click through it just to get done, but it's not the best way to do this. So in some ways, what you're seeing here is, okay, this is the machine before it's perfected.
Yeah.
It's really, this was where it was. There's gonna be a system, and I hope, I'll try it again in the spring, because I tried this past spring and I was able to pull out these outcomes, these measures from the rubric. And so it should be built into that behind the scenes, and that's what Sarah was able to do. So I sent her my rubrics and said, here are the items that need to be aligned with outcome G, which is effectively communicating. And behind the scenes, she plugged those things in.
There's about 4 major decision points, I'd say. One is deciding what your learning outcomes are in the first place. One is deciding which assignments measure those things and which ones are going to count. Because you probably don't want to map everything in hours. And then there's the more technical piece, which we tend to gloss over, but it's going to eventually, I think, come to be a really important part of the discussion. Because there's a slider where you can say, well, this is the threshold for mastery, this is the threshold for not meeting. So, is it 70%, is it 80%, is it 55%? Where is that? So you can slide that. And there's also the weighting then of those different components. So is the final project going to be 75% of that score, and the proposal at the beginning of the semester is 25%. So all of that is flexible. And one of the things we pushed for, which I think is really good, is for that to be transparent. So it's possible to trace, okay, where is this calculation coming from? But it does reach that complex level really quickly. And so I think having those conversations as early as possible, maybe not building anything in Canvas, but just talking with other people in your department about, okay, let's take a look at some student work samples of these assignments and think about, is this one demonstrating this? And is this one, what are those examples that we can then use to set those definitions?
And if I could make any recommendation at all, based on what Sarah's saying here, do not try to go crazy with this stuff. I think the mistake probably that I've made is trying to do too much really early, like, let's take all these items in the rubric and align this with G and align that with that.
This is why people were hiding from you or
I
buying
know,
pillows.
There's a lot of reasons why you hide. But I think when you're talking with people and trying to get them all to agree, I mean, you're right, there's one thing about the slider. What does it mean? If you sit down with people and say, well, we want people to have credible research supporting the claims they're making in their formal reports, right? What does that mean? How do we judge it? And at what point do we say, that's just not even, they're not meeting that particular performance? Where do we draw the line? So those are tough conversations, but you can probably answer that. And then you'd have something solid that everyone agrees. So I guess I would say start small and sort of go with a few key items in the rubric that you know align with the key outcome that you're trying to gather and test it first and see how that goes. And then you can build out from that. I always look at it from the long haul.
How is this or how have students responded to this, at least in college engineering or even in pharmacy? I mean, are they even attentive or receptive or aware of the fact that this amount of detail and work has gone into organizing their educational experience? I mean, has it changed their conversations that they're having with faculty members about their grades, their assignments? Do they?
So far, I don't think at least from my own experience, I don't think it's changed the conversation because there's not enough people in my program even trying this right now.
Mhm.
So what I can say with some assurance, because I, for many years, taught with, I had the approach. I used to have the approach where I'd go, hey, I don't need to have a rubric. I'm just going to give them that final long comment and give them a grade and a lot of crazy stuff written in the margins and see if they can figure it out. And so I gradually became a person who started using rubrics, and then I had rubrics that were very general with these sort of little buckets for things. I finally went to the numerical speed grader and doing all this, and I'll tell you what, it's kind of interesting. Maybe I've gotten scarier too, but I have fewer people that come in and contest issues, you know. I think they see the numbers, they see what I'm asking for, it's really clear in the rubric, and they see the detailed comments that I've typed in, and I think it's clearer for them. So I can tell you this, I read a lot of course evaluations because I direct this program. I don't get people saying, I can't understand your comments. I can't read them, I can't understand them. I think they start to see, oh yeah, well, she's grading on what she told us she was gonna grade on. And that's the level at which I think there's been some impact there. But so far, we don't do enough of this for it to be a thing that students recognize as being wrong.
So that's a huge part of the student experience is trying to figure out what is it that this instructor wants versus what is it that that instructor wants. They're trying to figure out the rules of the games of each of the different courses. And rubrics put them out there, easy for you to figure out. So to be able to then say, and this is why I'm learning this in this course, because it's going to be connected to this other thing, which is going to help me get this degree. That goes, I think, a long way towards sort of explaining why am I wasting my time here in this thing.
Well, a lot of this stuff is behind the scenes for students, so
Yeah.
they don't realize it.
Right, and
But
instructors.
actually, for APHIS, they, I think first quarter or January through March of next year, they're gonna come out with some new dashboards, one of the events. One will be for instructors and program level, and there's a lot more visuals to it, so we're not exactly sure how that works. It's almost like learning analytics, but it's more on, are they learning these outcomes in your course? So I think that'll impact students more at that point.
Yeah.
Right now, it's a lot of it's behind the scenes, more for just reporting and for the instructor to know they're actually mastering something.
One thing I'd like to add to that is, I came from K through 12, and students, they'll expect this because they've been doing this for years in K through 12. So I wouldn't be surprised if you had some people approach faculty who aren't using this and saying, well, how did you come to this grade? Why is it this?
No, that's really critically important. I keep trying to tell people who aren't using Canvas yet and Canvas grading. I mean, they're using Canvas to house their files and, and as a Dropbox place.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have to get through using Canvas gradebook. And the more we can use these rubrics, I think students are gonna come in expecting to see, where am I at any point during the semester? And honestly, that's fair, right? For them to kind of know, what's my grade? I know I have people who would say, well, they can look at their paper. I gave them a grade on their paper, why can't they keep track of that? But they're just not used to doing that. And we can grind all we want on, damn it, they need to do their own math, keep their own papers, put it in a folder somewhere. We can insist on that, but that's not their habit. It's not their reality. And
So did we explain the mystery spot? Is this helpful?
To me, this was like gold and once revisiting regularly.
So sorry to interrupt you. There is, so if you're interested more in what's happening with APHIS and direct assessment, there is a brown bag on December 4th, from 12 to 1:15 that Mo is going to be showing a little bit more about what's happening, trying to see if there's interest for spring on this. And I'm sure that'll go out to, I'm not sure who she sent it to, but it's usually on the assessment webpage, but again, it's December 4th. If you go on the provost assessment page, they'll have it usually on there under assessment, so. Or you can always contact me too, if you have questions, I'm Sandy, so on.
so part of the challenge really is, the software's been developing and people have been trying to roll this out in various ways. But we're still just getting started in some areas. And at least
We're really excited about pharmacy because it's actually amazing. You see all their outcomes at the program level, and they have every course mapped. So you see exactly where it's being achieved. And then you'll see, there's different levels of mastery. So the lower level courses are all in the first, that they're being introduced to it. And then it's emphasized in these other ones. So it's a really neat picture to look at. And then you have a list by courses, and you see what program learning outcomes they're covering in those. Some have maybe one, some have 5. So it's really interesting at the program level to see that.
Are they using that instead of their former outcome tracker? or
Yes,
parallel?
They're, I'm not sure if they're gonna do parallel this semester or not, they haven't decided, but then they wanna move forward to.
So, but this is actually a good example of, they're able to do this because they've been thinking about this and making these alignments.
They had
And there's a value in instructors thinking about this. To your question, Jeff, do the students know about this, and do they care? We could ask that of instructors. I think that there's a lot of people, and even, in instructional technology, we are sometimes not aware of everything that's happening on campus, so it's good for us to hear about it as well.
So it sounds like pharmacy has for some time been tracking their outcomes. It's actually a cultural thing. In the College of Engineering, we do talk about outcomes, but only in a few of the sort of courses in your graduation. So you have to start working on other people even being aware. What are the outcomes from your classes? What could I do in Canvas that would enable me to gather that outcome data and show it so we can look at the whole program? I mean, you got to start those conversations with your program, so that you're not just wasting time, sort of tinkering at one level, one course.
Thank you all for coming today. It is time. Thank you, Laura, for sharing your experience with us, and Sandy, thanks for helping to explain things. Sarah, thank you for doing all the background work there, and everyone else who's exploring. Please give us feedback on this. And I've added notes, Sarah, to the activity page to ask to future maps on routes. And so we can information about how to do that individually. It is kind of an addictive thing, I think, once you start doing it.